Parents who've read your teenager's diary. What did you discover that changed your relationship forever? I still remember the day I was vacuuming under my daughter Lily's bed when I found her diary tucked between the wall and her mattress. It fell open when I picked it up, and I saw my name underlined 3 times with the words, "I hate her," in all caps. I should have closed it right there, but I didn't. I'm not proud of that. Lily had been different lately, more withdrawn, spending hours locked in her room. I thought it was normal 16-year-old stuff, but my husband kept saying something was wrong. The first few pages were typical. Teen drama boys at school. Friend drama complaints about teachers. Then I found entries about cutting how she did it, where no one would see how the pain helped when everything felt too heavy. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely turn the pages. There were entries about how she thought about dying, how she wondered if anyone would really miss her, how she thought her dad might cry, but I would probably be relieved. She had written a poem about disappearing, feeling like a ghost in her own home, about screaming with no sound coming out. I recognized some lyrics from those sad songs she always played in her room. I sat on her floor, reading for an hour. That's when I found the reason last year my sister was diagnosed with cancer. I threw myself into helping her, driving her to chemo, watching her kids, cooking meals. I thought I was balancing everything, but through Lily's eyes, I disappeared entry after entry about how I missed her soccer games, how I was always tired, how I never asked about her day anymore, but spent hours on the phone talking about my sister. The worst entry was about her birthday. I'd promised to be home for dinner, but my sister had a bad reaction to treatment. I stayed at the hospital and completely forgot to call. Lily wrote, "Mom has a new daughter now. She doesn't need me anymore." She described waiting for me all night with the birthday cake. She made herself sitting at the table checking her phone every few minutes until finally at midnight she blew out her own candles and went to bed. I closed the diary and put it back exactly where I found it. Then I went to my room and cried until I couldn't breathe. That night I told my husband I needed to talk to him. I didn't tell him about the diary, just that I realized how much I'd been neglecting Lily. We worked out a schedule where he would take over some of my sister's care. His eyes got wide like he'd been waiting months for me to see what he'd been seeing. He just hugged me and said, "Thank you, I was afraid we were losing her." The next day, I called Lily's school and took her out for a surprise lunch. She was suspicious at first when I asked about the cuts on her wrist. She pulled her sleeve down and said it was just the cat I didn't push. Instead, I told her how much I missed spending time with her, that I was sorry I'd been so caught up in my sister's illness that she would always be my priority. She asked why I was saying all this. Now what had changed, I just told her that sometimes we don't see what's right in front of us until something wakes us up. She didn't say much, but when I dropped her back at school, she hugged me for the first time in months. I started keeping my promises. I made it to her games. I limited my sister talks to after Lily's bedtime. I set up weekly mother-daughter outings that were sacred. Nothing could interrupt them. I found her old cake recipe and surprised her with it one night just because told her I wanted a do-over of her birthday. She looked at me so strangely, but she smiled a real smile. Her dad noticed the change, almost immediately told me one night that he could hear her laughing again, that she'd started playing her music with the door open instead of locked inside with headphones. 3 months later, Lily left her diary open on her bed before leaving for school. I think she did it on purpose. The entry said "Mom's back." I don't know what changed, but I'm glad I missed her. I found a new page where she'd crossed out her old poem and written a new one about being seen, about someone fighting for you even when you'd given up the fight yourself. I never told her I read her diary, but sometimes I think she knows she's 19 now, and in college last week she called just to check on me. Before hanging up, she said, "Thanks for fighting for me back then, Mom." I'm still not sure what she meant, but I know how close I came to losing her. Not to death, but to the slow death of neglect. Reading that diary changed everything. It probably saved her life. It definitely saved our relationship. My sister asks sometimes how I knew something was wrong with Lily. I just tell her that a mother knows, but the truth is, I almost didn't know. I almost missed it completely, and that terrifies me even now.